Let's bring in the Conservatives now. We can speak to Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffiths, who joins me now. Very good morning to you. Thanks so much for talking to us. So we learned that the government is backtracking on its commitment to offer all workers the right to claim unfair dismissal from day one in the job. That will now kick in after 6 months instead, after an agreement between business and unions. Is that the right move? It sounds like grown-up politics at work here.
Yeah, it's a great move for both workers and businesses alike. Workers because they want jobs. We've got a growing crisis of unemployment of particularly young people who can't get a job. And so anything that helps employers be able to offer them, take a risk on them. The original proposal in Labour's manifesto was just simply wrong. The idea that you could start work at 9 o'clock in the morning and then go to an employment tribunal the very same afternoon with huge costs to the employer. So it is welcome. I'm glad the government have listened. They've U-turned. Not a single business supported that measure. But just to put this in context for your viewers, this was one measure, one page out of a 330-page bill. There's still lots of things in there that are going to damage growth and mean that young people don't get jobs. There's things like an attack on seasonal and flexible working. Right now, it's obviously Christmas. There'll be a lot of people in the shops as we go out this weekend who will be doing that as a piece of seasonal work. And the bill attacks that. There's a union right to roam, part of a big measure of 1970s style union laws that will mean unions can just roam where they want to in private businesses and things like that. So there's a lot more I think the government really ought to do if they're serious. But I want to welcome their U-turn on this. It is a sensible thing to do. And when they do that, I'm certainly not going to criticise the U-turn.
Well, yeah, I mean, you say it's a U-turn. They say they always laid out in the manifesto that there'd be a consultation on this, and they say that's exactly what they've done. They brought businesses and unions together and found this compromise. You talk about some of the other elements that are in that bill. It does include day one rights to sick pay and paternity pay, which will still go ahead. I mean, that's to be welcomed, isn't it? Lots of people want to see that happening.
Look, there's some sensible things in the bill. I was in business myself. Most businesses are very good employers in any case. The challenge is there are those 330 pages. That is a huge imposition at a time the economy is not growing. We saw yesterday 100,000 young people leaving our country because they feel there are greater opportunities elsewhere. Unemployment's gone up every month this government's been in power. And we just need more growth. And it's only truly the private sector, businesses, the self-employed, that actually gives us that growth. So anything that represents an imposition on that isn't the right way to go. That's our position. 330 pages there. You can take the flamethrower away from the arsonist, but if they've still got lots of matches and lighter fuel, they're still going to do an awful lot of damage.
You talk about people leaving the country because they don't feel there's enough for them here. Isn't this about giving people more, giving those young workers more rights? Isn't it good that workers do enjoy some of these benefits that many people might see as fair?
No one's, to be super clear, no one's against that. And we've got a very finely tuned balance in this country between the rights of workers, absolutely, but also the incentives on employers to take them on. And Tony Blair and Gordon Brown and a coalition government, there's been a very long-standing consensus around that served this country well. At the moment, the crisis that we have isn't about a lack of workers' rights. It's about 900,000 people, nearly 1 million young people who haven't got a job, and nearly 9 million people of working age, many of whom would like a job. We've got a crisis of not enough jobs in our economy. And what you don't want to be doing is coming up with clunking 1970s style laws
well, you say they're clunking 1970s, but I'm cutting in because we haven't got very much time. And I do just want to make the point that it was in the manifesto. People voted for Labour. They voted for laws like this.
Yeah, look, it is a U-turn, and that's not good in politics. I completely accept it's not good for trust in politics. But if there's a really, really damaging measure in a manifesto that shouldn't ever have seen the light of day, and that the government belatedly have listened to businesses and other parties, then that is a good thing, I'm afraid. So you don't want to follow things out the window. If the manifesto on this case was wrong, then it's right that the government have made this U-turn today.
OK, well, Andrew Griffiths, Shadow Business Secretary, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed.